Hey everybody, Wilfie and his steering wheel here. I'm still trying to figure out the best thing to do with this, but sorry, for now, this is as good as it gets. So the holiday season, Christmas season is coming up here, and tomorrow's my last day at work for the year. I'm actually taking they actually told me, dude, put in for 2 weeks off. It's been a year. I'm like, okay. So, yay, paid holiday. And I'm actually staying home, but that's okay. I've wanted some off time to goof off with different electronic thingies. So I am taking the opportunity. In fact, that's what this video is about. I am going to be trying, screw it, I'm doing it. It just may be very amateurish, so fingers crossed. I'm gonna try to actually produce a video, not just record my face talking and not just live streaming a video game, but I'm actually gonna try the whole thing where I record footage, edit footage, and try to show different things, different angles, screen caps, that sort of thing, because I have a fun project. And holy crap, the Daystar is out there today. So I've been talking for well over, at this point it's been, 5 years, about building myself oh, fuck you, light. Ooh, he ran it too. Anyway, building myself a Ceph cluster. That's C-E-P-H. If you're curious about it, it's Ceph.com. It is a free, open source, completely free. In other words, they don't have a paid version. It's all free, 100% open source. Massive storage cluster thing. It does all sorts of stuff. The short version of what it can do is it provides an object store like Amazon S3. In fact, the API is compatible with S3. It also provides, what's the second thing? Oh yeah, block targets. So like an iSCSI target, so you can, if you have a virtual machine or a regular machine that wants to mount an iSCSI target, you can point it at Ceph, and it'll provide that. And it also provides a file system functionality where, it's POSIX compliant, meaning it's Linux compliant. It's meant for Unix, although the funny thing is there is actually a Windows client for it now that can mount the file system too. So yeah, it provides all these neat storage things, not except, the bonus is it'll do it on commodity hardware, which a lot of different systems can do. But this has a unique combination of self-healing capability, erasure encoding, and high availability and scalability. This is one of those things that they use for supercomputers. Like, they may stack 1,000 disks on 200 nodes just as software configured storage, or software specified storage. I forget what the software defined storage. That's what they call it. So it'll talk over whatever you give it. You can run this thing on giant $10,000 servers with the beefiest chips and a ton of memory and the fastest disks money can buy, stacked up in a data center and all interconnected with InfiniBand or whatever fancy shit you want. And it'll also run on the stuff I'm going to use. Yes, it can run on the wimpiest hardware known to man, or at least still manufactured by man. They can still run Unix, that is. The hardware requirements are actually pretty minimal. The cool thing about it is that its performance is based on the beefiness of the hardware you throw at it. Its functionality is not. So if you've got a machine that can run a Ceph component at all, it can expand it can become part of the cluster and be useful. And so that's what's going to go down. There's a whole bunch of different moving parts. There's the monitor, the manager, the metadata server for the file system, the storage daemons, which run one daemon per disk or per physical volume. So if you've got a machine that can host multiple disks, you're going to have one storage daemon for each hard disk. So in my case, all these nodes that have disks on them are going to be running 2 OSDs. That's what they're called. There's also I forget if the dashboard is part of the management daemon or not. Anyway, doesn't matter. So the cool thing is you can build one of these things on one machine. If you really want, you can build a baby Ceph cluster on just one system with one disk. And it's not going to give you many of the features like reliability, scalability. Well, it can scale. That's actually not true. It's not going to be the fastest beast in the world. And you're not going to have the redundancy in that stuff because you're running everything on one machine. But the good news there is that you can test everything, see how it works, get the basics going, and have fun with it. I've done that. In fact, I've done it twice. I did just one node, one everything, and that worked. Slow, but it worked. And the funny thing is, I also tried it with virtual machines, and it actually ran faster. I gave it 4 nodes. The minimum magic number seems to be 3 that everybody pins on it. Like, if you really want to see this thing work, you need 3 nodes. So I gave it 4. Or was it 5? There was something about needing an odd number, I think. Whatever. I gave it 5, I remember now. And hooked them all up, and it actually ran a bit faster. And the scary thing is, I had it running, like it was working. I was running this on my Windows machine, because it has tons of memory, tons of CPU. And I had it all set up. I created a file system inside Ceph, and then exported it as a Samba share, or SMB share. And I was fucking copying files to it from Windows Explorer. It worked. It really did work. So, it's cool stuff. But yeah, I've been babbling about putting one of these together for frickin' years, and never got around to it. I had, of course, the resident oppressor lived at the house with me until the middle of last year, so that was kind of, I don't think that one would have approved of this mad science experiment. But that's no longer a problem. And back then, I think back in May, about a month before all that shit went down, I bought the big NAS anyway, and filled it with disks, and gave myself 110 terabytes of usable space. So there wasn't any pressure to build a storage cluster anyway. So I didn't. And it's a bunch of moving parts. I didn't feel like doing it. But you know what? I decided a couple weeks ago, I'm going to have a couple weeks off here. Oh, Christ. Well, okay, he gets to go past me. That is a battle I will not win. Law of gross tonnage applies. Right. I decided a couple weeks ago, I've got 2 weeks off coming up. I'm going to be puttering around the house, so why the hell not? So, I put my mind to it, figured out all the parts I could possibly need, and I placed my orders. And stuff has been trickling in. I'm pretty sure I have everything I need. I want to say... No, that's not true. I do have everything I need. All the cables, wires, everything came in. So I've got what I need to set up a 4-node cluster with 8 disks total. I'm just using old disks that I have from the old Burley build back before I bought the new NAS. Because those disks still work for the most part. I think I found 2 that don't, or that didn't want to spin up, but I'm going to test those again on the new nodes that I bought. But I bought all sorts of shite. In fact, I bought those Odroid HC2s. I think that's what they were called. A few months ago, and never got around to setting them up and testing them, because, again, lazy. But I did that a couple weeks ago, and that's what prompted me to order 4 new nodes. The HC2s were neat because they were stackable. They were, based on the Odroid XU4 platform, so they're, fast as hell. It had a gigabyte of memory each, gigabit Ethernet. No, I'm sorry, 2 gigs of memory, and a gigabit Ethernet, built-in SATA controller. Instead of it being bridged over a USB bus, it was actually part of the PCI bus, and 1 connector with power, and it was mounted in an aluminum machined little case, or little rack, deck, whatever you want to call it, that held the little computer, which was, baby, like half the size of a credit card. It's incredible. And also had just enough room, and the screws, and holes to mount it, to just hold one 3.5-inch desktop-sized SATA disk. And like I said, screw holes so that you could bolt it in. And all you had to do was feed it, 12 volts, 2 amps worth of power, and crank it up, pop in an SD card with a Linux image on it, and boom, Bob's your uncle. Cranks up. These things are so fast. They boot in like 10 seconds. It's incredible. I started to, I got 4 of them spun up with disks, and they were all happy and purring, just running Linux, and they could see the disk, and it was all happy and playful and everything. Then I started trying to install Ceph, and then I discovered the HC2. I forgot the name of the chip. It's like an Exynos 50 something. I'll have to look it up. The chips that the XU4 and the HC2 are using are ARM, which is not a problem. Ceph does support ARM with native builds, but unfortunately, these chips are 32-bit, and I tried several things. The new hot, sexy, all-in-one installer uses Docker and Systemd. Ugh. Docker's fine, Systemd is terrible. But anyway, so it would use Docker to pull down everything it needed and spin it all up, and everything's happy, and you don't have to do any real OS level configuration, apart from making sure each node has the same SSH key on an account called Ceph. But anyway, that's trivial. The problem is there were no Docker images for 32-bit ARM, which, okay, fine. I guess that means I can download the compiler suite, just on Debian and Ubuntu. Those are called, it's just part of a package called Build Essentials, and a couple supporting libraries. So I grabbed the source, and I started compiling, and it broke really quick. As it turns out, they used to support 32-bit systems, but, and I noticed on the mailing list, there's still a bit of discussion about 32-bit, but I don't think it's supported anymore, and it certainly wouldn't compile. And it's the usual shit. The pointer sizes are wrong, and well, not so much that, because they use the standard, like, header declared pointer size, but that's not it. The issue is they just make at this point they make too many 64-bit assumptions, and it's not just a matter of changing a couple header files to switch what kind of what size pointers to use and that sort of thing. There's actually stuff that needs 64 bits, that exceeds the size of a 32-bit unsigned integer. So it's not, like I said, it's not just a matter of going in and like find replacing a bunch of tokens, like, to change types. It would actually require some fairly hefty porting work, which I could do, but I don't want to. So, not when there's a much easier solution that involves spending money to make the problem go away. I ordered 4 of the new Odroid hardware called the HC4. And as it turns out, when I went looking for something to replace the HC2s, I went to Hard Kernel's website. They're the guys that make it. And I noticed they're discontinued and they're never coming back because this goddamn chip shortage that's just pummeling the industry apparently hit them, and they can't source a bunch of the chips they need anymore to build the HC2. So they had to abandon it and the entire platform, which kind of sucks. So now they've got the HC4, which is a 64-bit chip and has 4 gigabytes of memory and otherwise very similar specs. The performance is still, I think, a little bit better actually, and eMMC storage if you need it, SD card support, boots from either one. So that's all happy. And the cool thing is, well, it's a mixed bag. The HC2 case was stackable, so you could stack a bunch of these on top of each other. And because it was aluminum, they were very, very good heat sinks. So that metal casing would get rid of a lot of the heat that these things would that the hard disk would generate. The CPUs don't really get that hot. But anyway, so the HC4 can accommodate 2 disks, and it's got double the memory, so that'll work out. The issue is it's a toaster style, so there's no screws, and you just put the node on the desk, and then you slot a disk into one of the slots and pop it into and just push down to mate it with the connector, and that's it. It just sits there. No screws, and it's not stackable. So, but whatever. It'll at least run the software, so that's a bonus. So I'll be doing that. I have 4 of those arriving today, and I have a power supply, like not the kind that you, not the little brick type that you plug into the wall and get a little barrel connector out of it. No, I bought a, a Meanwell 300 some watt, 15 volt, because these are 15 volt, 15 volt power supply that should be beefy enough to drive 8 of these suckers. Ooh, that turn was wide. So I've got 4 of the nodes on the way, but this power supply will handle 8 of them. At least in theory. We're going to test that. So there's some bit of wiring to do, and this is the first time I've ever done anything like this. And yes, it's Babby's first electronic project, but god damn it, I'm going to do it. So that is what my video is going to be about. I'm going to start from a pile of parts and a table and a clean empty table, and I'm going to document the whole process of wiring it up, imaging or writing the flashing the original images to the SD card, getting everything configured, and yeah, it's gonna be fun. I'm gonna go from just the bare bones parts all the way up to, hopefully, a Ceph cluster. So I'm gonna use my laptop, which has adequate horsepower to do video or screen capture like with OBS. So I'm gonna set up a camera and record my tinkering at the desk with the hardware, and I'm gonna have OBS recording my computer interactions on the laptop, which will also be the terminal to talk to these things, and eventually the client to start copying data to and from this beast. And I cannot wait. It's gonna be fun, and it should hopefully be an interesting video. I am not crossing these tracks. Not with traffic like that. I'm not an idiot. I don't want to get run over. So, yeah, the idea is I'm just going to build the whole thing, babble as I go, try to get good camera shots, and record my interactions on the laptop, and hopefully be able to edit out the boring bits and make a decent pro amateur or whatever you call it kind of production video out of it. So look forward to that, guys. I am nearly at work, so I'm gonna head out here. Hopefully it'll be something you enjoy. If not, you're free to skip it. Yet again, I know I said this last time, had just a bunch of shit happen, so I didn't really get the chance. I'm gonna be live streaming this weekend because I'm absolutely addicted to Dyson Sphere program, and you're gonna suffer with me. So yeah, I'm gonna do that. So that's it for me for now. Hope you guys have a good day, and I will catch all of you soon. Hopefully that video will come out probably next week, I would hope. I'm not gonna live stream it. I'm just gonna record bits and pieces. It might be a series, I don't know. Depends on how long it all takes. But yeah, I will catch all of you guys next time. Take care.